You probably don't think you're addicted. No drugs, no alcohol. You're functioning, working, checking your phone a little, scrolling a bit. It's fine. But the truth is, your mind is hooked. Hooked on noise, hooked on notifications, hooked on never being still. You wake up and immediately reach for your phone, not because you have to, but because you can't not check. You stand in an elevator, silence. So you tap your screen, you wait in line, you scroll, you pause in thought, and your thumb opens an app before you even realize it. It's automatic, it's invisible, and that's what makes it dangerous. This is the addiction you didn't see coming. Not to substances, but to stimulation. Your brain now craves constant input, and without it, you feel uneasy, bored, even anxious. But here's the paradox: the more stimulation you consume, the less alive you feel. Because without space, without stillness, you never meet your true self. Zen calls this the sickness of the modern mind, a hunger for distraction. And to heal it, you don't need more information. You need less. What happens when your mind is always on, always reacting, always checking, always chasing the next bit of input? You start to lose the ability to focus, not because you're lazy, but because your attention has been trained to fragment. You try to read a book. By page 3, your brain screams for dopamine. You try to sit in silence, and it feels unbearable. You even reach for your phone during meditation, telling yourself it's just to check the time. That's not by accident, that's by design. Apps, feeds, alerts, they hijack your nervous system, reward your reflexes, and punish your stillness. But the cost runs deeper than you think. You begin to lose your sense of self, not in a spiritual way, but in a real, measurable way. You no longer know what you think, only what you've consumed. You no longer feel peace, only momentary relief between scrolls. You no longer act with intention, only reaction. This is the price of constant stimulation, not just anxiety, not just distraction, but the erosion of inner clarity and the slow disappearance of presence. Zen doesn't fight this noise with more noise. It begins by making space so you can finally hear what's underneath. You've tried. You've deleted apps, turned off notifications, told yourself, just be more mindful. And still, you find yourself back in the loop. Not because you're weak, not because you lack discipline, but because you were never in control to begin with. You see, most of us don't live by intention. We live by reaction. You get bored. You react. You feel anxious. You scroll. You're uncomfortable. You reach for something, anything, to make the feeling go away. But Zen teaches this: to react is to be ruled. You think you're choosing, but really, you're just avoiding. And the more you avoid discomfort, the more you reinforce the chains that bind you. The algorithm doesn't force you to watch, it just waits for you to flinch. And most of the time, you do. Not out of desire, but out of habit. Here's the truth: you can't stop reacting until you see the reaction. Awareness is the first break in the loop. The moment you notice yourself reaching, you've already taken the first step toward freedom. But that awareness doesn't come from effort. It comes from stillness, from watching the mind without jumping into it. Zen isn't about control. It's about seeing clearly and choosing for once not to react. Most people look to Zen for answers. How do I focus? How do I stop overthinking? How do I feel better? But here's the paradox: Zen isn't here to fix you. It's here to free you from the idea that you were broken in the first place. You're not failing because you can't focus. You're suffering because you believe you must always be focused. You're not weak for being distracted. You're human, and your mind is overstimulated, not defective. Zen doesn't add more strategies. It removes what's unnecessary. It doesn't say, try harder. It says, let go. Let go of constant input. Let go of chasing clarity. Let go of needing to win against your mind. Because what you're really fighting isn't your thoughts. It's your refusal to be still with them. Zen creates space, not for fixing, but for seeing. When you no longer need to escape every uncomfortable moment, you begin to realize you're already okay. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're no longer resisting it. So how do you begin? Not by forcing silence, not by trying to empty your mind, but by learning this one thing: how to not react. Someone criticizes you, your phone buzzes, a thought rushes in. I forgot to reply to that email. Normally, you react, instantly, automatically. But what if you didn't? What if, just for a moment, you noticed the impulse and did nothing? This is Zen, not detachment, but observation. It's the space between stimulus and action, where freedom lives. You feel the urge to check your phone. You pause. You feel frustration rise. You breathe. You want to escape the discomfort. You let it be. This isn't passivity, it's presence. Because when you don't react, you choose. And in that choice, you reclaim your mind. Zen doesn't give you control over the world. It gives you mastery over your response. And that, in a world addicted to stimulation, is a radical act of freedom. When the noise fades, what remains? At first, maybe discomfort, boredom, anxiety, even a kind of emptiness. That's okay. You're not doing it wrong. You're just feeling what's been there all along. You begin to notice your breath. Not control it, just notice. You feel the weight of your body in the chair. You hear the hum of the room, the silence between sounds. And for the first time in a while, you're not trying to be anything. You just are. In stillness, something ancient returns. A quiet presence. Not dramatic, not loud, but unmistakably you. The real you. Not the scrolling version. Not the always doing version. But the one that was never lost, just buried. Zen doesn't promise to make your life easier, but it does invite you to live more fully, with less noise, less chasing, and more clarity. So take a breath. Let the next moment come without grabbing it. You're not missing anything out there. You were what you were looking for all along.